So, hi guys, another interview, another question time, this time with the infamous Alex Schwarz. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad.
So, the first question I normally ask everyone is on the off-season slash lockdown slash you're doing nothing time, where have you been and what have you been up to?
So during the Ampthill week, which was obviously the last kind of week before it all kind of kicked off, I broke my foot in a training session. So I think I got an operation on about the 18th of March to get that fixed, and then obviously went home back up to North Wales. So I spent the majority of lockdown in North Wales, and got back to Cornwall the start of this month. Just kind of been enjoying back down here. Spend a bit of summer down here. I think it was I was ready for a change, ready to get out my parents' hair, I think.
Fair enough. So you're a North Walian, that's where you grew up, wasn't it?
Yep. So
who did you play for when you were growing up? When did you start playing rugby and who did you play for?
Yeah, so I started playing at Mole Rugby Club at the age of, I think it was 5 years old, I think it was. And then obviously just kind of stuck with them and grew up through kind of the North Wales system. So going and playing kind of against those South Walian county sides, and then eventually when kind of RGC became a thing, which is obviously the North Wales kind of development region, that was kind of towards the end of my when I was 16s and 18s. We were playing in the regional age grade, so we were playing against the likes of the Blues and Scarlets, 16s, 18s. No, it was good place to grow up. I mean, obviously, it's a lot. There's a lot better setup now in regards to academy up there now. But when I was young, there wasn't really much. But no, I really enjoyed my time, and obviously Mole's a fantastic club. It's I think it's one of the biggest in Wales, so it's kind of good ground in the minis and juniors there.
As I say, it's not renowned for its rugby North. You know, when I was growing up, there was very little rugby in North Wales. But since, is it RGRG?
RGC, yeah.
What does it stand for? Because I know the club. It's quite a good region. They're trying to get it to be the fifth region and stuff like that, aren't they?
It's RGC, so it's Rugby Gogledd Cymru, so it's obviously North Wales Rugby in Welsh. And yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff has happened up there. Obviously, I was kind of part of the whole inaugural season when we went into Division 1 East and kind of came through the Championship and then into the Premiership. So, I mean, there's some brilliant people up there, some brilliant players, and it just kind of, I think it is, I wouldn't say a sleeping giant, but I'd say that there is a lot of talent up there that is obviously untapped. So yeah, potentially in the future it could be something big.
How did you? Because you ended up in the Scarlets. You played for the Scarlets against the Pirates a couple of years back, didn't you? So how did you end up down there then?
Yeah, so that was kind of, I had 2 seasons at the Premiership with RGC. So first season we did pretty well. We finished 4th and we won the cup. And then the second year, obviously, quite a few of the lads, we had a pretty good team, to be fair, and quite a few of the guys were kind of picking up attention. And there was, I think, 4 of us got the call from the Scarlets, so it was to go and play all the B&I games. And we were also, to be fair, we were all supposed to play in the Anglo-Welsh as well. But there was obviously fixture classes with RGC, and obviously they kind of paid our contract, so we just had to kind of chew that one up. But I got to play against Quins, I think. So it was good fun, and obviously coming down to the Mene was an experience. I think I said
pitch as well, wasn't it? That was
yeah. So it was. I think it was mid-December, and after the game, I think we got a pretty good hiding. I think after the game, my dad came down to watch. I said, "Get me out of here! I've had enough. Like I'll never come back here again." And 6 months later, I was signing a contract. So no.
What was it like playing rugby in Wales, like in that kind of 16, 17, that kind of cult? Because I used to play for London Welsh when I was under 16/17, that cult level. And they had an academy program at the time, and it involved us driving up to play all the Welsh teams every other week. So we played the likes of Cardiff and Ebervale and some of those harsh valley teams. And I tell you what, it's a grounding to make yourself a tough rugby player, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You know, the year kind of, I was R18s my second year, so the playing obviously all those Blues regions and stuff. I think that Blues team was, I think probably 5 or 6 of them have all got Wales caps, senior caps now. I was lucky enough at the end of that season, I went to played on with Wales 18s as well, so we had a hell of a team that year as well. But then obviously going into that Welsh system was that first year of senior rugby in Wales for me was that Division 1 East year where you were going down and playing the likes of Gilfach Gorch and Hoyle Hughes, like some of the it really taught me some lessons because it was just there was no linesman. It was just basically going and getting beaten up every week. So I mean, it was a good ground and it was a good lesson. But
Ever fortunate to go down to Maya Stake?
No, didn't make it to my stake. I think
I wanted to put it there, mate.
Yeah, I know. I mean, some of the things I've seen in those early years, especially as a young lad, I was like, "What the hell is this?" I couldn't believe it.
So moving on to the Pirates. So you're obviously a scrum half.
Yeah.
What's it like? Because it's probably one of the most competitive positions in the Pirate squad. It's three decent Welchies, in fact, isn't there?
Yeah. No,
I didn't actually know you were Welsh because you don't have a Welsh name, you don't have a Welsh accent.
No, exactly.
You're like me. You're a half breed.
Yeah, exactly that. So my mum's English, so she always reminds me of that. And dad's Welsh. So and I live in Wales just by about a mile. I think the nearest city is Newcastle. So it's a bit of a fake Welshie. But no, obviously competition's good. Like 3 good players, and obviously Dawes last year as well, who was pretty unlucky not to play more because he's a real talent, and it's a shame to see him go. But as you said, it is one of the most competitive positions, and that brings with it its challenges personally, but obviously for the team it's good. I think start of last season I was pretty happy with my form, and then obviously the players that Rods and JB are, they needed minutes as well. So I had a good chat with Sterlo after the Newcastle game, and he just said, "Look, you haven't done anything wrong. We just need to give the lad minutes," which I kind of agreed with. But then obviously from a selfish point of view, when you feel like you're in a good groove of things, you want to keep playing. So I think that's been the most challenging thing for me, is when there is rotation, is trying to keep that momentum. But saying that, I mean, we all get on pretty well as a group of 9s. There's no real kind of, sometimes you can get a bit of bitchiness, and I haven't really. In different setups, sometimes you do get a bit of that, but there's none of that down here, which is great. We all kind of support each other. But as I said, it can be challenging because, you do lose a bit of momentum sometimes when you're kind of in and out. But no, I think overall it's good. It's good for the team, and especially when there's injuries. Next cab off the rank is more than qualified to kind of do his job. So
that was always one thing I battled with, was you've got, like, as a player, you want to play every game. Like, that's just that, it's not just a job. It's a hobby. It's an enjoyment thing as well. But also, you need to play to show people what you can do, so they keep you on next year and the year afterwards. And it's a very fine balance between, giving your teammates game time to make the squad strength as good as it needs to be in order to succeed. Because the games you play and how quickly they come around. But also, on the flip side, every time someone in your position plays, you're giving them an opportunity to knock you off your perch. It's that balance, isn't it? Selfishness you have to have, like, in the background, because it's your livelihood. But success, without the team, you have no livelihood. So I always struggled with that, to be perfectly honest. What do you think you bring as a 9? What did you bring to the table?
Yeah, I'd say classically, my game has always been around tempo and like the service. Coming down here in my first year, obviously my eyes were kind of opened to obviously the box kicking game, which I've always been a natural kicker. I used to play 10, like a goal kick as well, which obviously I haven't done down here as of yet, but obviously it's something that I keep on top of. But I mean, the level of detail that's kind of gone into that kick game from my first year, obviously playing behind Daisy, who'd been here and is well established in the championship. I I think that was something I really had to work on and develop a kind of proper routine, because I could always strike a ball quite well, but it was always a bit inconsistent. So that was one thing that I felt I had to really bring to my game moving down here. But yeah, I'd say tempo and kind of that, without going into
it's a big thing for a 9 to have, because you can get different types of 9. So I mean, you look at the England setup, and my favourite English scrum half doesn't start very often. It's Danny Kett, and I like it because he brings that tempo and that kind of heads up rugby. Whereas you've got Young, who's slightly different. He's kind of like a little bit more game management with a good delivery. And then you've got, is it Wigglesworth? Is it Wigglesworth? He was just playing kick, pass. And, you know, they've all got their merits, they've all got their strengths. But it's always interesting to see what players think that they bring, because it's also often very modest, like yours is. And also sometimes different to what the coaches think they offer. So, no, it's always good to hear. What were your thoughts on last season? It was a bit of a, obviously, up and down personally, but also for the squad with the whole pandemic issues.
Yeah. I think we were pretty good. I mean, we started well. I think we're obviously unlucky in that Newcastle game at home with some of the indiscipline and refereeing decisions were. Obviously, I don't really like to blame the referee, but some of them were a bit questionable.
The refs or the decisions?
The decision. And yeah, I think obviously we kind of looked to that Newcastle away game where we kind of taught a bit of a lesson, really. We felt really good going up there, felt really confident, and they kind of just blew us away at the speed they did everything and the intensity they carried. So after that, I think we kind of started to come good again and really, really dig in. Personally, it was okay. I mean, it was frustrating. I picked up a niggle near Christmas, and obviously with the rotation thing, I was kind of in and out. So, yeah, I think obviously disappointed. I think I heard when you interviewed Twan, he said a similar sort of thing. Disappointed that it ended so early, because I feel like we were really looking forward to going down to Wheeling and obviously giving Newcastle a go again, because we felt like obviously we didn't give the best account of ourselves that first time round. So yeah,
it's interesting. Every time I've asked a player about last season, because whether people have cottoned on or not, my questions are very generic and I usually repeat them.
Right.
But everyone mentions that Newcastle game in regards to the away one mainly, the disappointment. And what was said after the game then, like about the performance? What was the kind of outlook on it?
I think it was. I'm trying to remember. Obviously, it was a good few months ago.
A bit's happened since then.
Yeah, I think it was more. You know, that's where we need to get to. I think we met them on a day where they were really firing on all cylinders, and I think I remember. Obviously, I started that game, but I remember being on the pitch and kind of looking around, and I think we were 3 tries down before we got any sort of control back, and we were a bit shocked really at kind of how they came out. But as I said, the week before we felt great. We felt like we really were going to get stuck into them and give them a good battle like we had at home. But sometimes it just happens. It happens like that, and you can't quite. It's very hard to regain control once you start slipping like that. I mean, I think we had a good spell towards the end of the first half and at the start of the second half, but yeah, I mean, with a squad that size and that depth and strength, it's once you're a few scores down, it's always tough to kind of get a grip of it again, you know.
So with that in mind, tough question coming up. Apart from more investment, what do you think personally the Pirates need to do to get themselves in that position in terms of being able to deliver that kind of performance?
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Just thought of it. It's not even on my list.
Yeah. No, I'd say you know, we're moving in the right direction. I mean, you look at that squad. Obviously, compared to ours, we've kind of built the squad. Obviously, from my first year here to now, we're a lot more competitive in those big games. I think it's just gelling as a group. There was a lot of new signings next year, so we've got a year potentially this year where it's a lot more settled group. So we kind of know each other quite well, and then it's just building that momentum, having faith in each other. And I mean, you look at players as well. We have got quite a young squad, and some of the lads that are the young boys who are kind of developing. It's really exciting, and they'll go on to be, top class players. So I think it's time in the saddle for lads who haven't played so much, and also, as you said, investment, new players coming in. You can't do it all at once because it doesn't work like that, does it? As well as anybody. If you chuck a load of players together, it might take 1 or 2 seasons before they're all kind of singing off the same
London
hymn.
Welsh syndrome, when they basically spent ton loads of money on some very good players. In fact, you look at the list of players they brought in, but it just, for whatever reason, it did not click.
Yeah.
But I think you're right in regards to for me, the main thing is that kind of consistency across the board. So consistency with players in a squad, because ultimately you can every time a season starts. So when I played, and I was there for a couple of years, and we went through phases where you'd build a squad and you build the momentum, but then all of a sudden something would happen and loads of players would leave, and you almost go backwards. So you're at that point where you're heading towards a peak. You're not there yet, but there's a squad. I think you're heading towards a peak, and it's that the next season, instead of going back and having to work on the same stuff, it's almost ingrained in mainly in the playmakers like yourselves at 9, your 10s, your spine, and then you can start looking forward at the finer details, and then you get that consistency in performance as well, don't you?
Exactly that. I think you're spot on there. Yeah.
Should have been a coach. What are your expectations for this year then? Final question. What are you hoping for? Obviously, I know everything's up in the air at the moment with when things start and training and stuff like that, but personal goals and obviously goals as a squad.
I think personal goals for me to start with would be obviously to play consistently and of a good level. I think since I had this chat with Gav. I think since I've signed, I haven't really shown what I can do at a consistent level for kind of a period of games, which obviously I'd like to do. This year I think I'd like to just enjoy it a bit more and enjoy being in Cornwall, enjoy the group of lads, because we've got a great group of lads here. Then as a team, I think building on from last year, so top 3 finish again. I think with obviously Ealing signing quite a few players, it's that same thing as we just said. You don't know how they're going to go, whether they're going to gel or not. So I think for us, it's taking it to the Sarries and Ealings and Jerseys and the stronger teams in the league, and really consolidating where we left off from last year.
It's interesting you mentioned Ealing. They are making, for lack of a football cliche, they're making some moves in the transfer market, are they? I saw on Twitter, the font of all knowledge, that they've signed another player from Bath. I didn't catch his name, but I saw his highlights reel, and he's looking like he knows his way to the try line, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, they don't mind putting their hands in the pocket bucket. We'll leave it. We'll just say that. I think.
Sometimes, all joking aside, though, we've talked about how you need to build consistency as well. And so for every time they sign these new players, and yes, fantastic players, and they have got very good support and they've got a good structure and all that, but they need to gel, they need to bond. And you think of what we're coming off now. We're coming off a period where people are spending longer outside of training. It's going to be shorter pre-seasons. And really, the first team to click is going to be the one that's more successful. So when you look on that side of things, the Pirates have the upper hand because you can roll into a season with less of pre-season because of everything you built on last year. No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. On paper, yeah. I mean, obviously they're a great team. Obviously, Sarri's coming down, a great team. So it's a tough league, and I think it'll be a tough season. But I think the squad we've got is more than capable of competing for sure.
Well, mate, I'll leave you to get back to cooking tea. Mate, thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to seeing you play again this year, and hopefully, get that kind of regular consistency that you're after, because you're a class player. And hopefully I'll see you around the clubhouse afterwards as well.
Yeah, man.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Bye.